Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Surah Al-Maidah, verse 3, part 2. The prohibition of using al-azlam for decision making. Allah said, forbidden also is to make decisions with al-azlam. The ayah commands, O believers, you are forbidden to use al-azlam, i.e. arrows, for decision making, which was a practice of the Arabs during the time of Jahiliyyah. They would use 3 arrows, one with the word do written on it, another that says do not, while the third does not say anything. Some of them would write on the first arrow, my Lord commanded me, and my Lord forbade me on the second arrow, and they would not write anything on the third arrow. If the blank arrow was picked, the person would keep trying until the arrow that says do or do not was picked, and the person would implement the command that he picked. Ibn Abbas said that the azlam were arrows that they used to seek decisions through. Muhammad ibn Ishaq and others said that the major idol of the tribe of Quraysh was Hubal, which was erected on the tip of a well inside the Kaaba, where gifts were presented and where the treasure of the Kaaba was kept. There they also had 7 arrows that they would use to seek a decision concerning matters of dispute. Whatever the chosen arrow would tell them, they would abide by it. Al-Bukhari recorded that when the Prophet ﷺ entered Al-Kaaba after Makkah al-Mukarramah was conquered, he found pictures of Ibrahim and Ismail alayhi in it, holding the azlam in their hands. The Prophet ﷺ commented, may Allah fight them, i.e. the idolaters. They know that they never use the azlam to make decisions. Mujahid commented on Allah's statement when he said, forbidden also is to make decisions with al-azlam. These were arrows that the Arabs used and dice that the Persians and Romans used in gambling. This statement by Mujahid that these arrows were used in gambling is doubtful unless we say that they used the arrows for gambling sometimes and for decisions other times, and Allah knows best. We should also state that Allah mentioned azlam and gambling in his statement before the end of the Surah Maidah, in verse 90 to 91, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says,
يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان فاجتنبوه لعلكم تفلحون إنما يريد الشيطان أن يوقع بينكم العداوة والبغضاء في الخمر والميسر ويصدكم عن ذكر الله وعن الصلاة فهل أنتم منتهون.
O you who believe, intoxicants, all kinds of alcoholic drinks, and gambling, and al-ansab and al-azlam are an abomination of Shaitan's handiwork. So avoid that in order that you may be successful. Shaitan wants only to excite enmity and hatred between you with intoxicants, alcoholic drinks, and gambling, and hinder you from the remembrance of Allah and from the salah, the prayer. So will you not then abstain? In this ayah, Allah said, forbidden also is to make decisions with al-azlam, all that is fisq, meaning all these practices constitute disobedience, sin, misguidance, ignorance, and above all, shirk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded the believers to seek decisions from Him when they want to do something by first worshipping Him and then asking Him for the best decision concerning the matter they seek. Imam Ahmad al-Bukhari and the collectors of the Sunan recorded that Jabir bin Abdullah said, the Prophet ﷺ used to teach us how to make istikhara, asking Allah to guide one to the right action in all matters, as he taught us the surahs of the Quran. He said, if any one of you thinks of doing any matter, he should offer a 2 rak'ah prayer other than the compulsory and say after the prayer, O Allah, I ask guidance from your knowledge, from your ability, and I ask for your great bounty, for you are capable and I am not. You know and I do not, and you know the unseen, O Allah. If you know that this matter, and one should mention the matter of or deed here, is good for my religion, my livelihood and the hereafter, or, he said, for my present and later needs, then ordain it for me, make it easy for me to have, and then bless it for me, O Allah. And if you know that this is harmful to me in my religion and livelihood and for the hereafter, then keep it away from me and let me be away from it, and ordain whatever is good for me and make me satisfied with it. This is the wording collected by Ahmad. And At-Tirmidhi said, Hasan Sahih Gharib. Shaitan and the disbelievers do not hope that Muslims will ever follow them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this day those who disbelieved have given up all hope of your religion. Ali bin Abi Talha reported that Ibn Abbas said that the ayah means they gave up hope that Muslims would revert to their religion. This is similar to the saying of Ata bin Abi Rabah as-Suddi and Muqatil bin Hayyan. This meaning is supported by a hadith recorded in the Sahih that states, verily, Shaitan has given up hope that those who pray in the Arabian Peninsula will worship him, but he will still stir trouble among them. It is also possible that the ayah negates the possibility that the disbelievers and Shaitan will ever be like Muslims, since Muslims have various qualities that contradict shirk and its people. This is why Allah commanded His believing servants to observe patience, to be steadfast in defying and contradicting the disbelievers, and to fear none but Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, so fear them not, but fear me. Meaning, do not fear them when you contradict them. Rather, fear me, and I will give you victory over them. I will eradicate them and make you prevail over them. I will please your hearts and raise you above them in this life and the hereafter. Islam has been perfected for Muslims. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, this day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion. This indeed is the biggest favor from Allah to this ummah, for He has completed their religion for them, and they thus do not need any other religion or any other prophet except Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is why Allah made Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam the final prophet and sent him to all humans and jinn. Therefore, the permissible is what He allows, the impermissible is what He prohibits, the law is what He legislates, and everything that He conveys is true and authentic and does not contain lies or contradictions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and the word of your Lord has been fulfilled in truth and in justice, meaning it is true in what it conveys and just in what it commands and forbids. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completed the religion for the Muslims, His favor became complete for them as well. Allah said, this day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you, and have chosen for you Islam as your religion, meaning accept Islam for yourselves, for it is the religion that Allah likes and which He chose for you, and it is that with which He sent the best of the honorable messengers alayhi salam, and the most glorious of His books. Ibn Jarir recorded that Harun bin Antara said that his father said, when the ayah, when Allah said, "This day I have perfected your religion for you," was revealed during the great day of Hajj, the day of Arafah, the 9th day of Dhul Hijjah. Umar cried. The Prophet ﷺ said, "What makes you cry?" He said, "What made me cry is that our religion is being perfected for us. Now it is perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it is bound to deteriorate." The Prophet ﷺ said, "You have said the truth." What supports the meaning of this hadith is the authentic hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, "Islam was strange in its beginning and will return strange once more. Therefore, Tuba for the strangers." Imam Ahmad recorded that Tariq bin Shihab said, a Jewish man said to Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, "O leader of the believers, there is a verse in your book which is read by all of you Muslims, and had it been revealed to us, we would have taken that day on which it was revealed as a day of celebration." Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu asked, "Which is that verse?" The Jew replied, "This day I have perfected your religion for you, completed my favor upon you." Umar replied, "By Allah, I know when and where this verse was revealed to Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was the evening on the day of Arafah on a Friday." Al-Bukhari recorded this hadith through Al-Hasan bin As-Sabbah from Ja'far bin Aun. Imam Muslim, At-Tirmidhi and An-Nasai also recorded this hadith. In the narration collected by Al-Bukhari in the book of Tafsir through Tariq, he said, "The Jews said to Umar, 'By Allah, there is a verse that is read by all of you Muslims, and had it been revealed to us, we would have taken that day on which it was revealed as a day of celebration.' Umar said, 'By Allah, I know when and where this verse was revealed, and where the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was at that time. It was the day of Arafah, and I was at Arafah by Allah." Sufyan, one of the narrators, doubted if Friday was mentioned in this narration. Sufyan's confusion was either because he was unsure if his teacher included this statement in the hadith or not. Otherwise, if it was because he doubted that the particular day during the farewell Hajj was a Friday, it would be a mistake that could not and should not have come from someone like Sufyan al-Thawri. The fact that it was a Friday is agreed on by the scholars of Seerah and Fiqh. There are numerous hadith that support this fact that are definitely authentic and of the mutawatir type. This hadith was also reported from Umar through various chains of narration. Permitting the dead animals in conditions of necessity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "But as for him who is forced by severe hunger with no inclination to sin, such can eat these above mentioned animals, then surely Allah is often forgiving, most merciful." Therefore, when one is forced to take any of the impermissible things that Allah mentioned to meet a necessity, he is allowed, and Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful with him. Allah is well aware of his servant's needs during dire straits, and he will forgive and pardon his servant in this case. In the Musnad and Sahih of Ibn Hibban, it is recorded that Ibn Umar said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Allah likes that his rukhsa or allowance be used, just as he dislikes that disobedience to him is committed." We should mention here that it is not necessary for one to wait 3 days before eating the meat of dead animals, as many unlettered Muslims mistakenly think. Rather, one can eat such meat when the dire need arises. Imam Ahmad recorded that Abu Waqid al-Laythi said that the companions asked, "O Messenger of Allah, we live in a land where famine often strikes us. Therefore, when are we allowed to eat the meat of dead animals? The Prophet ﷺ replied, when you neither find food for lunch and dinner nor have any produce to eat, then eat from it. Only Imam Ahmad collected this narration, and its chain meets the criteria of the two Sahihs. Allah said in the Quran, with no inclination to sin, meaning one does not incline to commit what Allah has prohibited. Allah has allowed one, when necessity arises, to eat from what He otherwise prohibits, under the condition that his heart does not incline to eat what Allah prohibited. Allah said in Surah Al-Baqarah, but if one is forced by necessity without willful disobedience nor transgressing due limits, then there is no sin on him. Truly Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful. Some scholars use this ayah as evidence that those who travel for the purpose of committing an act of disobedience are not allowed to use any of the legal concessions of travel, because these concessions are not earned through sin. And Allah knows best. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.